Meet the Crew with your host, Lloyd Ellis.
Welcome back to Meet the Crew. I'm your host, Lloyd Ellis, and on today's show, we have a person that needs no introductions. This is the place where you get that deep dive conversation with those folks from behind the scenes. But before we get into today's guest, it seems out there that only about 60% of you all subscribe, which kind of hurts my feelings just a little bit. Where's that other 40%? I know you all watch it. I do, because I can see that little tally from the little YouTube algorithm thingies. But you know what? That's okay. Please make sure to hit that like. Please make sure to hit that subscribe, so that way you know who the next rock star that we have coming up on today's show would be. And you never know, we might actually have that rock star for you. We're going to do a little segment with artists coming up pretty soon. Not only the behind the scenes folks on Meet the Crew, but yes, we have a couple of artists that you see on them stages, from the rock and roll clubs to the stadiums. It's going to be live, y'all. Let's get on to today's guest. Today's guest is that man who, I have to tell you all, I just got to call him out. Scotty, you there, buddy?
Hey, everybody. Scotty Haulter here. Great to be on this, Lloyd, man. It's so great to be a part of this.
Scotty Haulter. Yeah, I'm so happy to have you on my show. Tell everybody where you're from, brother.
I grew up in a little town of Clarksville, Indiana, which is right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. And about age 20, I moved over to Louisville, Kentucky, and then was here for about 8 to 9 years at that point, and then moved for the next 25 years, traveling, touring. I sometimes describe it as lived in hell and back, but as they say, there's no place like home, and I moved home 2009, and I now live in the best city in the world, Louisville, Kentucky.
So, Scotty, what is your expertise in this industry of ours, brother?
Expertise, I've been everything from an agent to a talent buyer to tour manager, production manager. Currently, I'm a director of ops, promoter rep, and production manager for local venues here in Louisville, and work for a company called Production Simple, independent promoter here.
For some of those folks out there who don't know who you are, which is kind of sad if they don't, you have definitely been around for, I wouldn't say a millennium, because none of us have been around that long, but would you be willing to kind of give us a little name drop of some of the artists that you've toured with in your tenure?
Absolutely. The first band I started managing and tour managing was the Afghan Wigs out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and still to this day are some of my dearest friends. They were on Sub Pop Records, and gosh, I did the Cranes, I did Stereo Lab, I did Grantley Buffalo, I did Smash Mouth, Bare Naked Ladies. I actually did the Jonas Brothers. But in the last 12 years, I've been fortunate enough to work with Jacob Dylan and the Wallflowers, and actually have seen his family grow up. That's how long I've worked with him nonstop. So, yeah.
That is a beautiful tenure of some very established artists, and it takes a very established person behind the scenes making sure that they can go out there and do what they do.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the thing I'm most proud of that roster is that I'm still such great friends. I wasn't just an employee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still such close friends with so many of those people. That means the world to me, means more than anything we ever did on the road together. That is for sure.
Bro, I applaud you. You have seen and worked with, I have to, I'm showing my young age on this one, because you and I have talked about this plenty of times. We both have the same mindset on a lot of things when it comes to how we work. And that has been because I have always based my career on making sure that I have a rapport with people like you, people that have been around since the 80s and that have worked with the groups that I looked up to when I was growing up as a wee pup. And then to see that you're still in this craziness of a career, but still are keeping a great smile on your face and running teams that are hitting it out of the park on a daily basis, a nightly basis. And people just don't understand that a lot of times when we walk into these rooms, it is an empty room when we start and it's an empty room when we finish. And we do that day in, day out all across the world. And you are a person that has pioneered the way for a lot of folks out there. I can attest personally that a lot of the ways that I run my cruise is off of watching how you run your cruise. Granted, we've only known each other for probably 4 years now, maybe 5 years. Yeah. But even in that short time frame, I have changed the way my brain works when it comes time for me to run my cruise. I'm like, a lot of times I sit back and I'm like, you know what? Scotty do that? He's been there. He's seen this. He's done this most likely. He's been in this situation, guarantee it. Yeah, probably let's not do that. There's probably a better way or an easier way or probably even a smarter way to get that done.
Yeah. And Lloyd, I appreciate you saying that. And I was blessed. I started going on the road in the early 90s. And I was blessed to, first tour I did was a support band with the Smashing Pumpkins, right? Mm-hmm. And I was blessed to have some of the best promoter reps around the country see something in me that they liked and trusted, right? Yeah. Put their arm around me and let me be part of their stable.
That's amazing.
And there's not a day that goes by, there's not a show that I advance that I don't think, what would Chris Weathers do in this situation? What would Gary Meyer do in this situation?
Yes, sir.
What would Bobby Malati do in this situation? What would Bill Ramey do in this situation? I was just blessed. I'm just a young guy, didn't know a thing, but they saw something in me. And literally I was blessed to have them just wrap me up in their arms and say, come on along for the ride. And what I learned in that way is you and I both know there's 100 ways to do everything.
Yes.
Right. But there's also a right way to do everything. Yes. And all of those people that I just mentioned and many, many more during the course of the day, Lloyd, didn't just think about their team. They respected the team that they were working with. They respected the venue that they were working at. They respected the job that those loaders and those stagehands, those local stagehands had to do that day. And they watched out for them.
Yes.
And it was about just what does my artist need or what does my crew need? They were reasonable, thoughtful people. And that's the biggest gift that I have in this.
What made you want to do this for a living?
I don't know if I ever knew that I wanted to do this for a living, Lloyd, to be quite honest, man. I was 1985 in Louisville, Kentucky, and there was a little punk rock club called Tooligan's Tavern. And I was tending bar, quote unquote, which tending bar meant selling beer. To the point where many nights we took the labels off the beer and sold beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it was our hangout. It was our little factory, or it was our CBGBs at the time. And on a good day, we'd have 50 people in there, 35 that didn't pay, but we still have 50 people in there. And we did it for the scene. You know what I mean? It was a place for us, the Island of Misfit Toys, to come in there and have like-minded people to hang out with, Mm-hmm. And one day, a year into it, the owners filed Chapter 13. So me and the two quote unquote employees, I know we had less than $40 to our name between the three of us. And we're like, we'll just keep it open. And we paid the beer guy for a year. We didn't have to pay any other bills or anything like that. And I started booking shows. I had no idea how to book a show, anything like that. The industry was different back then. It wasn't about that. I don't even think I looked at a rider for the first 3 years of my career. It just, riders were for arena bands, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. For these small club bands or whatever. But And I think it just after a while, Lloyd, I don't think I ever thought, I remember seeing Led Zeppelin in 1977 at Freedom Hall. And I think that was the first time that I had seen a flown rig. And it was park hands and they had their little laser show, you know what I mean?
Right.
PA hanging, you know what I mean? And I just remember walking into Freedom Hall and just being like, wow, man, that looks huge. And now you go do a show at Freedom Hall and that place is so small and you're like, man, what a dump. You know what I mean? No offense, Freedom Hall. You have a great part of my history. You know what I mean? And I think that was maybe the first moment of like, wow, man, that's really interesting. But never hit me like, I want to figure out how to hang that PA.
Most definitely.
None of that. You know what I mean? It just, that part of it never came to me. You know, I just think the most part for me, I think is why I do what I do. I like to take care of people. I like to let other people have a good day.
And you're great at it.
Well, thank you, sir.
You have this aura and this rapport with everyone that you work with that demands, commands, and receives respect. But it's not done in an arrogant way, and it's not done in an, pardon to say it this way, an asshole-ish way. We've all got one, and you definitely are not one out there, but you do know how to put your foot down and get things done when it has to get done. But everybody that I've ever come across at an event that you're running would give the shirt off their back to make sure that your show happens without a hitch. And that's because of the type of person that you are. That's the type of the leader that you are. That's the type of promoter rep that you are. And that's few and far between in this world. A lot of times, I hate to say it, a lot of times promoter reps, production managers, whatever you may be for that particular day, get a lot of bad rap because it's a lot of barking, you know what I mean? But that never happens on your shows. It's always a blessing when I get called up to be like, hey, Scotty's got a show. You down? Yes. I don't care who it is. Yes, let's do this. Let's go have fun for the day. Let's make somebody's day epic. Let's go put on an event so that way those folks out in the crowd can have the best night of their life. That way that artist out there can have the best night of their life. You know, that is what prides myself on doing my day-to-day at events. You know, it's being able to look out at that crowd or look across the stage at that band and watch them interact, watch them have that dance between themselves, you know, and again, just being able to start with an open room and end with an open room at the end of the day, and everybody, when that door to that truck gets shut, praise God that everybody still has all their digits and their toes, you know, and nothing catastrophic happens, because yes, things happen in this world, but it's a different event when I do shows with you. And I can say that everybody I've come across said the same thing. Speaking of shows.
Yeah. Before we move forward, I want to reiterate on that, Lloyd.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I can do that for a second, right?
Yeah.
Number one, we're blessed in this region to work with some amazing people like yourself and the Brian Paynes and the Union House. And, you know, there's some great people that literally, you know, that they're top of the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We are blessed in that. We don't have many weak links here. And I only say we don't have many because I haven't met any of them, but obviously there are a few out there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't met them. You know what I mean? So, you know, it would not behoove me, right, for me to go to someone like you to micromanage you, right? Because I know that you know what you're doing that day. I say this all the time, man. I surround myself with people that make me look great every day. You know what I mean? And that is really what that is. And it's all about building relationships, you know?
Most definitely.
Every venue that I work at, I make sure I spend time with those people. You know what I mean? Because I want to.
Yeah.
Because, hey, man, what might not be my problem that day, they're having a problem. I want to make sure that, you know what I mean? I respect that. You know, once again, back to how I was taught, you're thinking of everybody that day.
Yes, sir.
Really, really are, because everybody's got a different problem at any different moment of that day. So
That's a great perspective and a way to look at life in general, not just the showbiz industry that we work in, but just life in general. Just making sure if there's more people out there that could look at life that way, this crazy world will be a lot better place. I can tell you that.
it sure would, you know, for sure.
I can definitely tell you that.
Yeah. And I think, Lloyd, I think in our industry, we know many people who think that way.
Oh, most definitely.
It makes us special too. You know, I mean, we're all a bunch of carnies, man. You know what I mean? I mean, let's think about it, bro, right? I mean,
Hold on, wrong figure, especially that little guy right there.
yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're all carnies, man, and we've all basically put ourselves on the line.
Yeah.
And probably stepped out of our comfort zone by a lot.
Yeah.
To achieve what we've achieved. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's, and I know you and I have talked about this before too. You give me someone with enthusiasm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a willingness to learn, work with them all day long.
Most definitely.
That's all I need from them, you know. And you teach them to respect other people too, because I want to pass on the knowledge from 20 years ago. The great people put their arms around me and brought me in. It's our responsibility, Lloyd, people who've been in this business for 20, 25 years.
Yes.
It's our responsibility to pass that down the line.
If we don't, our career, our future of our career is over. There's
Yes.
so many things that scare me already in this day and age with the arts and the entertainment, of how a lot of that stuff's going away in the school systems and stuff like that. And there's so many people being crammed into these, what they think they can learn in 90 days, maybe 2 years of an associate's, that a lot of us had built a lifetime learning how to do, and how to, I wouldn't say perfect, because there's no perfect person out there but God in my eyes,
Right.
but become experts in, and being able to see a three-dimensional picture of what's going on, and be able to have their eyes constantly on the move to be able to see, okay, there's a problem over here, we need to solve it, but while we're solving that problem, we need to make sure that we keep this ball rolling, to make sure that everything comes together in that end product of, hey, the crowd out there is having a great time, the artist on the stage is having a great time, everybody on the crew goes home safely at night
And enjoys their day.
Yes.
Life's too long if you're not enjoying it, brother.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Well, that's what I say, you know? Yeah.
So we're in April as of right now. Oh, no, we are not. We are now in May. It is Cinco de Mayo, y'all.
Yeah, I had tacos today.
Cinco de Mayo. I need excuse me as I take a little, this isn't bourbon. It's too dark, y'all, but I have to have a little sip of mine. Just saying. Just saying. So with this past year's craziness out there, how has life been affected for you professionally, or even in your family, if I may ask?
My family, I had a brother who beat cancer this year.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes. I had a sister-in-law who just an hour ago got the call that she was clean from cancer. Right?
Yes.
I have a good friend in Los Angeles, one of our brothers and sisters in the industry, who just had throat cancer. Cancer sort of surrounded me this year, but everybody came out on the other side, right?
Yes, sir.
Rest of my family is good, and thank you so much for asking. Industry-wise, obviously, we all know we got shut down last March.
Mhm.
My last show was March 10th. I went back to work end of April. So do the math, that's 13 months.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my time, Lloyd. I think we all had a choice at that point. Now, first couple months, hey man, we thought, okay, cool, we'll be back in it by summertime, you know? And then you realize that, hey man, we're not gonna be back in this for a while. So I took that opportunity to reach out, do a lot of volunteering. I worked with the Lee Initiative a lot, who have just been absolute heroes here and have actually fed over 1 million meals nationwide. Volunteering down to 16th and St. Catherine for marginalized community. That really saved me. That was my gig that I didn't have. And for 3 days a week, I had a gig. And much more important than any show I've ever done, much more important than any load in, load out, you name it, any advance, any settlement, giving back to people, because there's people, as bad as our year was, there's people that have it a lot worse than us just doing our job,
It seemed like you, amongst a lot of us out there, gained a new perspective on how to look at life this year.
Yeah. And I thought I had that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to live that perspective, and I think we've talked about that. But it really gets you down to it of like, what can I do for thy neighbor?
Yeah.
What can I really do that makes a difference in this world? And I can't feed, I didn't feed everybody, but I fed who I could, with a lot of people helping, you know what I mean? And also started with Lee Initiative and the Touring Professionals Alliance. We started a relief kitchen for out of work touring professionals. So we did that in LA and New York and Chicago and Nashville. TPA is still continuing on with that. The Lee Initiative was for 7 weeks. TPA kept going on with that and is now in Austin, the Bay Area, San Francisco and Oakland, and continuing to do it in Nashville. And gosh, I mean, we're going to end up feeding thousands and thousands and thousands of people, man, for, the simple human right of having food every night, you know what I mean, was questioned this year.
Yes.
And it just really basically break it down to like lowest common denominator, man. Like, be kind, be thoughtful, and give as much as you possibly can to the person next to you. And I think I like to think that I lived that in my career anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Really shined a whole new spotlight on that this year, and it saved my life. People would come up and give food, and they'd thank me, and and I said, "You're the hero."
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Especially in our industry, Lloyd, because we're doers.
Mm-hmm.
We solve problems. So for the first time this year, those people, those people felt it was hard for us to get people to come out and collect food.
Yeah.
Everybody in our industry is so thoughtful. Their whole thing was, well, there's someone that needs it worse than me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just, so when they would show up, it's like, just thank you for taking this, you know what I mean? And thank you for coming here. And, it just spoke a lot to our community of like everybody. For 80% of the comments would be like, someone else needs it worse than I do.
Yeah.
Cool, but this is a thank you. You know what I mean? Like, come get this meal for you, man. Like,
Yeah.
But it's been a really, really great thing to be a part of, for sure.
So again, you never cease to amaze me just on your character and how you naturally love helping people. And I'm proud to be a friend,
But
to be a brother, because
Lloyd, that part comes from my mom.
yeah.
I mean, that she never sat me down and taught me a lesson, but boy, she showed me, and my father.
Yeah.
The most important thing, you come to my mom's house, man, and even in the last 3 days of her life, she'd have got up out of that chair and cooked you dinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She'd make sure you had food.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was, you know what I mean? And that's really where that has come from for me, you know what I mean? And my dad the same way, for sure.
My wife and I live our household very similar to that, to where before COVID happened, we would do, I wouldn't call them parties, but we would have get-togethers with, anywhere between 10 to 15 of just the most random folks that we know from all different walks of life, just to get togetherness and fellowship, and to be able to give people a chance to get outside of their comfort zone and meet new people.
Yeah.
And again, this wasn't, I would say out of these get-togethers, out of the 15 people, maybe 4 knew each other. You know what I mean? And that was intentional. And we would also make sure to try and put these things away as much as possible. We'd actually stash them up on our mantle. Sure. And tell people, hey, yeah, they're up there. If you got to take it. But we're here to have conversation. We're here to build the friendships that we have. And I'm actually very thankful that last weekend, my wife and I, my wife mainly, I just helped. I can't take much credit for this. I helped. But my wife threw a baby shower for a friend of ours. And I'm blessed that I've been able to have a home that has the space to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And we were able to do it safely outside. We had different tents that we set up around the house outside in the backyard so people could eat, and had a big slide that we put up for kids to play, and plenty of food. And it was an amazing feeling, just throwing cornhole bags, like just being able to see all these people that for the last year have been locked up. Yeah. And not having any sort of refuge to be able to have any sort of just general companionship or being around people, it felt amazing, and to see the young lady who actually just had the baby. We did the shower a little late, but that's okay. It's like to see the smile on her face and the joy that we were able to bring to her was amazing, and to me, it's like you said, man, I thrive on that. I love being able to help people, but in a different way, I can't, it's people used to think I was very weird because I get anxiety around being around a lot of people, but they're like, how do you work in the entertainment world doing that? And I'm like, well, 9 times out of 10, I've got this little barricade around me or I'm backstage, you know what I mean? But I still, in the back of my mind, love helping people and being around people to make sure that they can have an experience that they will never forget, a positive experience that they will never forget, And it's just this weird feeling that you get when you are able to accomplish something like that, and to be able to see somebody's vision in their brain and be able to bring it to life and be a part of something like that. It's just the coolest thing ever, It
is. It absolutely is. And it's, not to sound like a hippie, but it really is all about spreading the love, man.
Yeah.
It really is that simple,
It's a 4-letter word that's not offensive. Love.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Share it, spread it, live it. Yep. That's another 4-letter word. So things are starting to happen back up. What is this next year looking like for you?
But Production Simple, who also owns Headliners Music Hall, we actually start doing potted shows outside in the parking lot next Friday.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a rumor that you and I are working a weekend together on the waterfront for some shows. They're going to be great.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's in May, and we're moving forward.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see it, man. I think we're going to, it's going to be a slow work back into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I do feel that the doors are opening again, for sure.
I felt that today. I literally, about an hour before we had our call, had email and phone tag with literally, I'm still kind of weirded out about this because everybody was saying it was going to happen. And when it does happen, it's going to be almost a bidding war. But today was a bidding war where things are happening this summer. I can't say exactly who they are because I haven't decided yet who it's going to be. But I know that I've even either got festival fly dates that are already booked up through August, or festival fly dates that are booked up through August. Through August, you know, it's like no matter what, it's going to be a great summer, you know. And
I think so too. I really do.
It's definitely going to be a different. Excuse me. It's going to be a different way that we handle these events, but the events that I've done so far in 2021, and I've done about 3 or 4 of them so far, they've been still pretty epic. They've been pretty cool. You know, I did one about 2 weeks ago with this pop artist, Jesse McCartney, and it was crazy to see all the kiddos go ballistic over this guy because he's a little pop star, you know, and it felt good to be back behind a console doing my thing.
Yeah.
And hearing the crowd go crazy.
Of course.
Watching this guy out on stage do his thing and him to be like, this is my first show back in a year.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was very cool.
It's going to be emotional for sure, you know.
Most definitely.
For sure, you know, and I just think that also, I think all of us are going to work more together.
Yes.
Forward. You know, we've all been affected by it. I don't care if you know, hell, the Rolling Stones were affected by it. You know what I mean? So we've all been affected in some way, looking out one window or another.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the brother and sisterhood of all of us getting back together, enjoying and appreciating the magic that we're able to create again.
Most definitely.
For sure. That's what I'm looking forward to. You know, and still have a smile on my face all day, Lloyd, right?
Yep.
You know, for sure.
I'll be smiling in a couple weeks when we're on that festival.
Yeah, man, for sure.
It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna feel like old times, family reunion, and
I mean, we got the A team out there.
Yes, sir.
Pretty
yes,
excited.
sir.
You know?
Speaking of A team.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is my twin. My twin.
Love it.
It's my twin, y'all. He's always near me because it's like people are like, bring your A game, and I'm like, oh, I look at that on a daily because that's a reminder.
Yeah.
Always shoot to be a part of that A team.
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
saying. Just saying. Always give 150%.
Yes, for sure.
So we've come to that point in the show, Mr. Scotty.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to do it. Just saying. There's one thing, and you only get one thing, that the folks out there might not know about you, or if there's just one thing you just want to tell the world, what might that be?
Well, probably the one little thing some folks might know, but not everybody knows this. I had the fortune of getting out of the industry in 2004 and working in my other passion. And I could talk but this podcast would last 89 hours if we talked about this. Baseball.
What?
Baseball.
Baseball?
Baseball nut. So in 2004, I went and worked for independent baseball team in Rockford, Illinois. And in 2005, I got to realize my dream. And I worked in the clubhouse. I made it to the actual big leagues with the Colorado Rockies.
What?
Yeah. So I got to call my family and say, hey guys, I just got called up. Right. And it was great. And then I continued for 2 years after that and realized that it was a seasonal job and I was getting up in age a little bit. And it wasn't that hip to go look for a new job every September. So, but I got to live it. And quite honestly, it's entertainment just like we do.
Yeah.
Politics just like we have. I'm glad I got out because I saw enough behind Oz's curtain of the thing that I love a lot. And I didn't want to see so much that it ruined my love for the game.
I like that.
I did 4.5 years of it, got out, but man, I mean, I think the first year in independent baseball with Lloyd, I think I made $3,000.
Yeah. But you had fun.
Maybe you know what? We won the championship. I got a ring. I did a dog pile on the pitcher's mound. And you know what I mean? It was the greatest. It was the greatest. So those are that's a great moment in my life. You know what I mean? For sure.
Hey, that is the coolest thing ever.
It was really great. My father had just passed, and that was one of our bonds, was baseball.
I love baseball myself. I'm a big guy, as everybody already knows. But I'm also a very big baseball fan. I grew up in Minneapolis and was a big Kirby Puckett, Chip Hale,
nice
fanatic. Early Brett Saberhagen.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So your Jose Canseco's, your Mark McGuire's, your Ken Griffey Jr.'s, your Bo Jacksons, your Deion Sanders, like you name it, you know what I mean? And I remember going up to the Metrodome, which is now a parking lot, which scares the crap out of me, but going up to the Metrodome and just being in awe of being a kid in that ginormous building, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And playing Little League baseball, but never did it past Little League, you know? Like I've always, like that's still to this day, like I have a thing with baseball caps. Like I'm wearing a baseball cap right now. I've got baseball cap over here and here and here.
Yeah.
Everywhere, you know, like it. Playing football hurts. Baseball's fun. Baseball's a lot of fun.
You ever want to see me be 3 years old again? Bring a glove and a ball to one of the shows we work, and I don't care how bad a day we're having. You give me 5 minutes tossing with you in the parking lot, dude, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm 5 years old again, bro.
You know what's hilarious is I still have my baseball glove from when I was a kid. It sits in my garage and people are like, why don't you sell that thing? I'm like, no, I still can fit my big old hand inside of that. And I still catch like it was nothing.
Yeah.
But it's way too small because everybody that looks at it's like, how do you catch that little thing on? But I'm like, throw a ball. And I'm like, whoosh,
yeah.
snatch it up in a heartbeat. But it's my glove, you know? It's my McGregor baseball glove, all leather with the stitching all jacked up, but I still love it.
So you can imagine the first day I walked in the Rockies clubhouse.
Bro.
I mean, seriously, for me, man, like I've never had jitters at a show per se, maybe some live TV stuff, you know, that you can't edit out and it's live and you're standing on the side of the stage and your artist is there and you've got nothing to do with their performance. So you're even more nervous.
Right.
For some reason, we want to carry that weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, that first day in the clubhouse was like, whoa. Like, honestly, no offense, Colorado Rockies weren't that good then. They actually went to the World Series the following year somehow. I can't imagine like if I would have been hired by the Yankees or something. I don't know if I'd have made it.
Yeah.
I'd probably thrown up all day.
Yeah.
With Jeter and all those people walking in, or just being in that environment of the Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig's, and all of that, I'd have been like, "Nah, dude, this is way too big for me."
Yeah.
I mean, like, but you know, it was absolutely. You can only imagine the fun I had every day, and just forming those friendships with those ball players, man. You know what I mean? Was just amazing. You know.
I know this wasn't part of our initial question conversation that we had precursor to all this, but it's funny when people always ask us, and I know that you've been asked this a million times, but they're always like, who's the most awesome person that you've ever worked with, or who's the worst person you've ever worked with? And I'm like, everybody's awesome, everybody's horrible in my book, you know what I mean? But then it's like, we've done this for so long and we've worked with so many people out there that you bring me these normal rock stars out there, and I'm like, hey, they all do the same thing we do on a day in, day out basis. But then you bring me like a baseball player or a motocross rider. Like I'm heavy into motorcycles and dirt bikes and stuff. And I freak out and I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
That's Travis Pastrana, or that's Brian Deegan, or that's Twitch, or that's Ricky Carmichael. You know what I mean? I'm like, people are always like, man, you guys must see these rock stars and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but they're just like you and I. But then you get athletes that do some pretty crazy things, superhuman things.
Yeah.
That's cool in my book.
Cool. That's cool. I think part of that is, Lloyd, we're hanging out with the rock stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're their backstage is our backstage.
Yeah.
We're allowed back there for the same reason they're allowed back there. You know what I mean? So we're sharing that space. There's some sort, of I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But when you're talking about athletes who are, hitting 330 and, winning gold gloves, I don't belong there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a whole other level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most
That's
definitely.
a whole other level, and, it took probably half the season for Todd Helton to even talk to me. Very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I didn't need to go become friends with Todd Helton. You know what I mean? That's fine. I'll let him sit in his corner, and he has 8 lockers and everybody else has 1, but it's cool. You know what I mean? But about halfway through the season, he came up and put his arm around me and said, hey, man, they say you're pretty cool. And I was like, Todd, it's cool, man. I know we haven't talked all year. You know what I mean? But, and from that point on, there wasn't a day the rest of the season that he didn't spend 5 minutes with me alone time personal.
That's a beautiful thing.
Future Hall of Famer Todd Helton, man. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing.
Lifetime memories.
Lifetime full of memories, man, for sure.
Most definitely.
For sure. I think one of the things I'm really happy about is that we went back into the history of this industry a little bit.
Most definitely.
For sure.
Most definitely.
And I'm glad I was able to pay homage to some of those people. And I wrote Chris Weathers last year, man. Right? And he got a big article in Pulse magazine. And I wrote him and I said, Chris, I know you've gotten 1,000 emails today, man, but I just want you to know, man, that you've stuck with me.
Yeah.
For my entire career, and I can't thank you enough. And I said, there's not an advance that goes by that I don't think what would Chris Weathers do in this situation.
Yeah.
And Lloyd, if one day when it's all over and the big lights go out, one person in this industry thinks like, man, I wonder what Lloyd would do right now. We're winners, man.
Yeah.
We're big time winners at that point.
I agree.
Lloyd, I can't even thank you enough, bro.
Scotty, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. You have been a blessing to talk to and to have the history and the knowledge that you have poured out for these folks in the inner wide world of webs. It is a treat to be able to have, and I said it before in a couple episodes, but this is true, to have an icon in this industry on my show has been a blessing. When we talked the other day and you were like, hey man, I've been watching these on the sneak and you're doing it. It's very humbling hearing that from somebody like you. And I needed to have you on the show and you were like, yes. Thank you. Thank you for dropping knowledge to these folks out here.
Well,
thank
you so much for having me, man. You know what I mean? Thank you so very much. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, brother.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? I'm sure we'll make a few mistakes. It'll be a first one out, but it'll be fine. No big deal.
Hey, we'll go home. We'll go home with all 10 of these. I'm hoping.
You know what? I'm going home to my own bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
All right. Love you, brother.
Love you too. Ladies and gentlemen, Scotty Haulter.
Peace. Later. Bye.
Meet the crew with your host, Lloyd Ellis.